Let's get started. Hello, everybody. I want to welcome you to virtual Western Middle School, I guess I'll call this. I am Gordon Beinstein. I'm the proud principal of Western. I'll talk about myself, which is my favorite topic, of course, in a little bit. But I want the other panelists here to kind of introduce themselves if they don't mind and their roles quickly. Let's start with Mr. Gavin.
Hi, Carrie Gavin. I'm one of the assistant principals.
Ms. Coyne.
Hi, Suzanne Coyne. I'm the other assistant principal.
Miss Montague.
I'm Erin Montague, the 6th grade guidance counselor next year.
Mr. Marmor.
Hi, I'm Ralph Marmor. I'm 6th grade English.
And team leader, Ralph. That's why you're here.
Oh.
And Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Termetta. I teach 6th grade science.
And also the other team leader. Thank you. And then Miss Velez.
Hi, I'm Claudia Velez. I'm a professional assistant at Western Middle School, and I also serve as a liaison between the Latino community and Western Middle School.
So typically when we have these meetings, Claudia is our translator there, and I couldn't figure out how to make this work with Zoom. So what we're gonna do is we'll leave Claudia on. She's gonna kind of talk a little bit about what we're gonna do tonight. She'll be here for the Q&A, and I'll run a separate meeting next week. I'll send something out for those who English is a second language. We could have another conversation so you guys understand what's going on. I just couldn't manage it during this time as I normally would have. Claudia, could you translate that for me?
Muy buenas noches. El señor Weinstein dice que yo soy la que traduzco las reuniones para Western Middle School. En estos momentos él no tuvo la oportunidad de cómo hacerlo por Zoom, pero entonces vamos a tener una reunión más adelante solamente en español. Y si alguien tiene una pregunta al fin de la noche, pues la pueden hacer y yo les trato de hacerles la respuesta.
I think you said it right. Thank you, Claudia. So a couple things about Zoom as I'm learning as we go through this. Again, the Q&A, we're going to do it two separate ways. So there's a way for you guys to type in your questions. I'm just going to ask that you wait to type them in until we cover that particular topic or at the very end, because most likely, I think we're going to answer most of your questions as part of the presentation. And then we'll do a more, hand-raising kind of Q&A at the end for those who still have questions that we haven't answered. So as questions come up, just type them in, and we'll try to get to them as we do the presentation. So with that in mind, let's just kick this off. It's about 20, 25 minutes, I think, and then we'll have a, talk about Western and what we're excited about. And when I say excited, I really do mean that. Western really is a special place. And I'm not just saying that because I happen to be the principal. I think if you talk to the parents who are there, talk to the kids who are there, it really is a wonderful community. And it's a real mix of kids and staff. And staff who really wants to be here. Middle school is not, the finest hour for most kids. And yet our staff thrives with this age group. And they get them. They understand them. They work with them. They encourage them. And they get the best from them. So I'm really proud to be part of this amazing community. So let me start with a little bit about myself. Like I said, my favorite topic. So, Erin, that's the next slide, if you don't mind.
Working on it.
Thank you. So I've been, it's my 32 years in middle school. That's probably your worst nightmare, right? 32 years, never leaving 8th grade. But for me, it's been a dream career. I haven't always been here. I actually started my teaching career at Central Middle School way back in 88. Do the math, I'm 53. Way back in 88 as a building sub, actually, for 2 years. Then I taught at Central for about 12 other years. Then I left Central to become an assistant principal. I went to Reading for 1 year, then Darien for 6 years as an assistant principal. Then I went to Milford for 4 years as a principal in Milford, Connecticut. And then I came back 7 years ago to take the reins over here at Western. And it was the best decision I ever made for myself and for my career. Why have I stayed in middle school all this time? It's not because I can't do high school math, although that'll be part of it. It's because what we do is so important. I think sometimes middle school gets a bad rap as it doesn't count. And you hear that a lot. Middle school doesn't count. And it's true. The grades don't go with them. But the habits they learn here, that's what they're going to take with them to the high school. And what we do is so important. Very few kids mess up in middle school and then turn it around in high school. What they learn here, the habits they learn, the friendships they make, the work ethic they inherit, whatever it is that they gain while they're at middle school, goes with them through high school and into college. And even the ACT people, the American College Testing Organization, they did a survey or a study a little while ago, and they said the greatest indicator of success in college is where kids are at the end of 8th grade. So it's so important what we do. And the way I figured it is we have 540 school days between the time your kid enters sixth grade to leave eighth grade to get them ready for high school and beyond. So we take that very seriously. The other piece is I love this age group. Those of you who have middle schoolers will know what I'm about to talk about, but this is a fun time. You have to have a sense of humor. Your kids are going to go through some weird stages, physically, emotionally, intellectually. They're going to make odd choices. They're going to make bad choices. And they're going to learn from those choices, as long as we let them do so. And finally, I feel your pain. So next slide, Erin. These are mine. So right now, Connor on the bottom here is a sophomore in the high school. This picture is about a year or two old, but he's a sophomore at the high school. Emma at the top here is going to be a sophomore at UConn next year. And Jake in the middle, he's going to be a senior at the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. So I show these kids here. I have to look at your kids for the next 180 days, so you can look at mine for a minute. But really, I show them here because I've gone through what you're going through. I had 8 straight years of middle school for my own children. So when I tell you I know what you're going to experience, I know it both as a professional and as a parent. So I think I have a pretty good handle, and the staff does too, about these years and how do we make them successful for you and for your kids. So I just take a minute and read this slide quickly. I don't have to read it to you, I think. So basically, your anxiety becomes their anxiety. Your excitement becomes their excitement. So what we hope to do tonight is to make you excited about Western, so you can go back and tell your kids that this is going to be a great place for them, and it really is. Just so you guys know as well, I'm going to be meeting with your kids by feeder school next week. Actually, the whole panel here is going to be meeting with them. So we're running Google Meets next week, different schools each day, so that we can actually answer any questions they might have and tell them a little bit about Western and get them excited for it. This is in lieu of the tour we would have had, or the trip we would have had in early June, but obviously we can't be in the building. And then next slide. And then I mentioned this a little bit briefly, but there are a lot of changes your kids will be going through. Here's what you need to know. They're going to become hairier, smellier, ornier, moodier, and they're going to come out of it better at the end of it. So what you're going to see is a real physical change. Kids grow, puberty hits at this time. They grow 60, 70, 80 pounds. Their bodies take shape. But what you don't see is equally as impactful, which are the emotional changes that the kids go through. And they say that the biggest 3 years of change for your child's life is birth to 3. The next biggest 3 years are 11 to 14. So think about the kid you brought home from the hospital as an infant, and then the 3-year-old, all that they're able to do. Middle school is very much like that. What you give us in 6th grade and what we send back to the high school in 8th grade are very different children. Again, it speaks to the importance of what we do. You know, we have these 3 years to really get them ready and to really shape them and together to make them the young adults that they're going to be, the great people they're going to be. And then next slide. So this is just a brief list of the 6th grade teachers. So you'll notice we have 4 English teachers, 2 math, 2 social studies, 2 science. There are 4 special ed teachers and 1 guidance counselor, Miss Montague, who'll be with you guys for all 3 years, which is great. The reason we have this number of teachers is we actually have 2 teams. So on each team, there are 2 English teachers, 1 math teacher, 1 social studies, and 1 science teacher, and a SPED teacher as well. So this way we separate there are about 200 kids in 6th grade next year, so about 100 per team. And on each team, there are 6 teachers kind of surrounding them. So they'll have those same 6 teachers. And then the next slide. Then quickly, just the roles and kind of what we do. And I'll let Carrie and Suzanne talk in a minute about what they do. So we oversee, each of us take a grade to kind of oversee, but within that, we have different roles. So I take the 6th grade, and obviously I handle communication, budget, and personnel. And then Mr. Gavin?
Good fortune of doing of the discipline quite a bit. I have also I run the PBIS program. PBIS stands for Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, and that's just a fancy way of saying that we try to be proactive. We really drill into the kids the expectations, the behavioral expectations. They've been learning the norms of Greenwich Public Schools for the past several years, and we just kind of carry that forward into middle school. And we follow a progressive discipline system where we really are trying to get the kids to learn from their mistakes rather than just punish, punish, punish. But more will come out with that as we start the school year.
Dan?
And I oversee the special education at Western. This is my 6th year there, and I'm really proud of the program we have. I've been in Greenwich myself for 24 years, all of which has been in some aspect of special education. So it's something that's a passion for me. So I oversee that. I oversee kind of 504 plans. I work with the guidance staff to work with them on that. I do the state testing, which is a joy, and intervention. So if your child is struggling in any way, and needs some supports at Western, I'm involved with working with the staff and the families around that. I also will feel your pain next year. I have 2 kids, 2 girls coming in as 6th graders. So I will have 3 girls in middle school next year. So that's scary for me, but it's exciting because it's a joy. My oldest at Western has done an amazing job coming there, and it's been the best decision I made. So I'll be in there with you all.
Thank you, Suzanne. And then, Suzanne, you want to talk about some of the other supports?
Yeah, here's the next slide, Erin.
Yep.
So within the mental health that we have at Western, we have Erin Monty, who's going to be a critical person that you'll work with all 3 years. But we have a psychologist, Dr. Knox, Ms. Powers, Stephanie, our social worker, and we have a teen talk counselor, Ms. Gibson. So Dr. Knox and Ms. Powers tend to work a lot with students who have IEPs or on 504 plans. Ms. Gibson is often someone that we have worked with some of our general ed kids if they're starting to show some signs of struggles, having some issues with, themselves, anxiety, just having difficulty. She might meet with them. They're wonderful. They've kind of all worked together for many years, so it's a really great group. We communicate all the time together. It's a great team. And then we have Ms. Young, who is our nurse, who will also be involved in some of our meetings with students with some needs.
Thank you. And Erin, you can talk about yourself now.
Awesome. So I'm Erin Montague, as I introduced myself earlier today. I will be the guidance counselor for your children from the time they enter Western in the fall until the time we finish 8th grade together 3 years from then. So we will work together quite often. And because a school counselor is a new position in a school for all of you guys coming from elementary school, there are no counselors. So I just wanted to help you understand what my role is and the types of things that I can be most helpful to you with. I work a lot on scheduling for the kids over the summer and in through the year. So I build their schedule with the help of recommendations from their previous teachers and our administrative team. I do a lot of academic counseling. So if students are struggling in terms of executive functioning, keeping their materials organized, learning study strategies, I oftentimes will meet one-on-one with kids to help them or after school to get them organized and set some goals around their executive functioning and academics. I'm a social and emotional support for them as they go throughout middle school. Regardless, whatever that is, whatever they need, whatever they want to talk about. I've talked about literally everything with children before, so whatever it is that they need. I also tend to be the liaison between the team of teachers and a family and students. So I like to say that I'm the info booth at the mall, or I'm triage in a hospital. So I would really be your first line of defense for anything that comes up, anything you need. And I'm able to direct you to the person with the answer if it's not me. I'm able to be a liaison between the team of teachers and you and your student, schedule team meetings to make sure that we all get around the table. Just if anything goes on in your lives that you want your child's teacher to be aware of or know, that is my office number, which I cannot access right now, but my email is there as well. So please take a picture of that with your phone, write it down. If there's anything that you need, shoot me an email first, and then we'll figure out where to go from there.
Just want to let you guys are incredibly fortunate to have Miss Montague. She is an amazing counselor. As much as she's a resource for the kids, she's asked for the parents as well. And she's also our distinguished teacher this year, one of our distinguished teachers this year. So congratulations, Erin.
Thank you. I'll also talk to you briefly about the transition. So just so you guys know, we've been working really hard with the elementary school 5th grade teachers and administrators and the rest of their teams since earlier this calendar year. In January, we got together with all of the 5th grade teachers and administrators, and we talked about the course placements at Western Middle School. We helped them to understand the different levels that we have. And we also just talked about the successful profile of a middle school student. So we started discussing with them the things we'd like to see the students do independently. for example, starting to advocate for themselves a little bit more, to organize their materials, how to schedule themselves with a long-term assignment, or get through a test in a certain period of time, since we take tests in one class period. Just a couple different things like that. And we help share some strategies with them for the ways we help students transition when they get to 6th grade so that they can get started a little bit earlier. Just a couple of weeks ago, we met with all of the 5th grade teachers at every elementary school to discuss each of your children. So we talked about their academic placements as well as any social emotional needs and things that you shared with them that will help us be successful and get off on the right foot. Our special education team also conducted sharings with the special education team at each of your elementary schools. And I know Mrs. Coyne has reached out to those families who will be getting to know our special ed team, which is truly the best, in the next couple of weeks. We typically have a visit in June with the 5th graders, but like Mr. Beinstein said, we will be looking to do some virtual meetings with each of the elementary schools next week, which you'll get emails about, and then hopefully do something fun if and when we can return to school in the fall. Normally there's an ice cream social at the beginning of the year and a half day for students to get into the building. And I anticipate that we will do our best to make sure they transition in regardless of what that date is.
Thanks, Erin. Okay, Ralph, want to talk about teaming a little bit?
Okay, so like Mr. Beinstein said, there's 2 teams, and what's great about the 2 teams is that all the teachers in the team share those students. So when we discuss, like we all have those students, and we can talk about their needs or we celebrate them. There are 6 teachers each. We have 2 English teachers, 1 math teacher, 1 social studies teacher, 1 science, and 1 sped teacher. It'll be around 105 students on each team. And and like we said, that's also would help out with the success of those students. Because like I said, we all share the same students, and it makes it much easier and much more helpful.
One thing about teaming that we really appreciate is, Ralph said, we have those same kids. It kind of makes a big school smaller. So your kid will have just one of those teachers, so that if their friend is on another team, they will not be in the same classes, but they will be in possibly the same classes with the other courses. So gym isn't on here, tech isn't on here, health isn't on here, art isn't on here. So those courses, we mix teams for those classes. And also we have grade level lunches. So if your child is in 6th grade, their lunches are only 6th graders, which is really nice. And then we let them choose their own table until they can't choose their own table. Then we'll choose it for them. But for the most part, they get to sit with who they want. And again, so if you're concerned about your friend is concerned when we finally give out the schedules, my friend's not on any of his classes or is not on the same team. 1, this is school. We're not about, having play dates all day long. And 2, they will see their friend at lunch, and they will likely see them also in one of their other classes. So if they're not on the same team, they'll still get a chance to interact.
And then for academics, in social studies, the students explore geography and cultures of East Asia, Europe, and South America through inquiry, research, and digital tools. In science, the topics range from the human body systems, weather, chemistry, and ecology, while taking part in authentic research labs and finding connections between concepts. In math, it consists of 3 levels. There's a Math 6, there's 6A, and pre-algebra, in which students explore a range of topics, including fractions, decimals, integers, and ratios. English, readers and writers workshop challenges students to be critical and analytical thinkers while exploring genres such as fiction, nonfiction, historical fiction, and poetry. In world language, it's Spanish and French are offered at Western. Each class covers a study of the culture and the basics of each language.
Just a real quick, guys, about the levels and such. So the levels, we get the levels recommended from central office. We don't know your kids yet. So there are 2 levels in science, advanced and on-level. There are 3 levels in math, as you can see right there, and there's an ALP and then on-level English. My word of advice is we trust the elementary schools to make them. We did, in our conversations with the elementary schools, make some changes. We pushed some kids up because we saw some scores and they talked about some potential. I communicated with those parents already. But if you're concerned about the level, give it a couple weeks and then we can always have a conversation. Because the nice thing is, unlike the elementary school, there's no one ALP teacher. So the math teacher teaches all 3 levels. The science teacher teaches both levels. So if they're in a class and the teacher goes, listen, this kid's ready for the next level, we'll just make the move. So we don't have to worry about any other barriers in place at that time. So let us have the kids for a couple weeks. Let's see where it goes. And then if we think there's an issue, either up or down, we can have that conversation. We also make a lot of moves at the end of the year, if that's more appropriate as well. So again, the level piece to me, it's about the most appropriate level for your child, not necessarily the highest level, because it's going to be different for each kid.
All right, so this is a copy of our schedule. Mr. Beinstein wanted me to include it because it looks scary. That's what he said, but I'm going to break it down for you a little bit. But what you'll see here is that we have 6 courses that meet per day, but we schedule between 1 to 8 blocks. So out of those 8 blocks, only 6 meet per day, and we have an 8-day rotating schedule. So every single day, the order of blocks is different. The kids have a really great time getting to learn this, but it doesn't take long for them at all. They have the copy of this in every single classroom. They have it in the planner that we give them. They have it on every planner page, so they know exactly what day of the cycle it is. They know exactly which blocks drop that day, and they know exactly what order the blocks are in. So this really is not very difficult for them at all. This is just a quick look at what the patterns look like. So what you'll see on the side here is that 5 blocks out of the day are core academic blocks, and those are full-time. So they will meet 6 out of 8 days per cycle, because we have 8 blocks. They drop twice out of the 8 days, so they meet 6 out of 8 days. And then 3 blocks are what we call unified arts blocks. Those are elective times. So you'll see I highlighted those 3 blocks with a black background, and you'll see the different, this is a sample of a schedule, the types of courses kids will get in 1 year. So all students receive physical education for a full year. In 6th grade, the kids have to take health and digital literacy. Those are a quarter each. So you'll see that we listed it as semester 1. They'll take health quarter 1 and digital literacy quarter 2. And then in semester 2, maybe they get art. Again, this is just a sample. This is nobody's actual schedule. It just shows you how we can fit everything in. So they may get art 2nd semester during that block. We have a class called Advisor Base, which we'll talk about a little bit later. All students are in an advisor based class, and these class sizes are a little bit smaller. They'll have that for the entire year. They maybe will get consumer science for a semester, general music for a full semester. And then maybe they're in a performing arts group. So whether it's band or chorus or orchestra, that will happen for the full year. And then their world language class falls during unified arts time as well. So in 6th grade, our world language classes meet part-time, which means that they'll meet 3 out of 8 days rather than 6 out of 8 days. So whether that's Spanish, one of our Spanish levels, or French, that will happen during a unified arts block as well.
Just one thing, Erin, you want to talk about when the interventions would meet, the ESL
Sure.
and special ed?
Sure. So if your child receives special education services or a reading or math intervention or any kind of support or enrichment course, those will meet during the unified arts times. So they will never be pulled from a core academic class in order to receive any of those supports or services. The bell rings at the end of the period, and all students go to a bunch of different classrooms across the building. For some kids, that might be general music. For some kids, that might be academic lab to work on their IEP goals, or a reading class to work on some reading skills and strategies, or math enrichment to work on math. So those types of classes will happen during the elective and unified arts time as well. I get it, Gordon? I covered it?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Still me. I'm also one of the AVID coordinators at Western. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what that means. AVID is our magnet theme at Western, as many of you know. We are a magnet school, which means that anyone from any part of town could be lucky enough to join us if they choose. AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. And the program is something that we started as an elective program only, but quickly saw results for all students because we talk a lot about college and career readiness, the types of tools kids need, the options that are available to them. We talk a lot about executive functioning. We use a common language across instruction for all content areas. So you'll see at the bottom, there's a list there of common strategies that we use school-wide, whether that's the organizational one binder system or reading strategies, any kind of inquiry. We teach kids how to go from a level 1 basic question to a level 3 where they're comparing their thoughts to global situations. We teach a focused note-taking strategy. So we really try to teach the kids how to do school. We want them to be successful no matter what curriculum's in front of them. So we really believe with this AVID philosophy that if we teach them the best way to approach learning, regardless of the content in front of them, they can be successful. One of the major ways to do this, and Gordon touched on it a minute ago when he was talking about allowing our kids to be pushed, who we see potential in, our teachers consistently looking for an opportunity to help kids grow, to enrich their learning. We do a lot of growth mindset work. So we never want to accept your child's first attempt as their best attempt. We want to push them to keep growing. We ask them to goal set consistently. And one major example of this is in progress monitoring, which I'll talk about next. But Gordon, I want to make sure, do you want to add anything to AVID?
No, I think it's transformed what we do as a building, and not just in the strategies that are listed below, but kind of in the mindset Erin spoke to. The phrase we use all the time is your child's first worst effort as their final product. Your kid will turn in something that is not acceptable. And rather than just grade it and say, you got a D, it's you're going to do this again. So the consequence for doing the work poorly is not a bad grade. It's redoing the work so you learn what good work looks like. And that's kind of how we conduct our classes. That's how we deal with assessments. That's how we do grades. It's not about just giving a grade and moving on. Same as consequences. It's all about the learning opportunity that exists. And AVID is the framework from which we the lens, if you will, for which we kind of discuss how we want to address each kid at each time. So I think Erin did a nice job kind of explaining that as well.
All right, so I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about progress monitoring. I said before that we have advisor-based classes that all of the kids are enrolled in. Advisor-based happens 3 times per cycle. It's during the Unified Arts time. It's taught by every teacher in the building. And because every single teacher teaches this same content, we have much smaller groups. They end up becoming mentorship opportunities for staff as well. What we ask the kids to do when they enter advisor base, 2 or 3 times a cycle, it sort of depends on what else is going on in the building, is we ask them to open up Aspen, which is our student database and grading system. We ask them to look at their current grades. Now, Aspen is alive. You'll learn a little bit about it later in our grade section, but it's a live grade book. So at any point, you'll be able to see what the teachers have collected and what the grade is that your child has gotten on that assignment. And so we tell the kids, all right, we're going to progress monitor, open up Aspen. And then for each course that we have listed here, for ELA, which is English Language Arts, what is your current grade in a percentage? For math, science, social studies, regardless of the level. Now, this is an example of a progress monitoring sheet that a 7th grader filled out this year. We also say, we want you to open up the assignments tab and indicate any assignments that you have missing, or in some cases, an assignment you received a low grade on, which may be impacting your overall average. And so you'll see this student on this specific day, March 3rd, had a missing assignment in each science, social studies, and world language. So you'll also see that when they turned that assignment in the next day of the cycle, their average increased in each class. Now, this science assignment was a quiz, so obviously that had a larger impact on their overall performance in that course. But it's just really important for the kids to see how each assignment can impact their grade. It's a way for them to organize themselves, to organize any of their missing assignments. We ask them to goal set while they're doing this. We say, okay, what should you continue to do or start to do that you did not do this cycle that will help you improve? We also encourage the kids in that moment to reach out to their teacher if they need to in order to schedule an extra help session, to ask questions about the assignment that they didn't do. And at the end of the cycle, the kids write an email home to their parents, which you will see here. So they download that progress monitoring as a PDF. They attach it to an email. that we help them write. And these are just some examples. So for example, this one said attached with my progress monitoring sheet, you'll be able to see my current grades in my classes plus assignments that I'm missing. Something I'm proud of this week is being able to organize themselves and manage all of their assignments because of their busy week. And what they want to accomplish next cycle is to make sure that they get all of their homework done and stay on task with their newsletter, which was an assignment coming up. So we try to encourage the kids to talk about something they're proud of, something they want to work on, and anything that they need help with. So that was a 7th grade student. And then we love this one down here from an 8th grade student. It specifically says, if you want to talk about it later, I won't give you an attitude. So we try to make sure that you as the parents are a part of the conversation. They're communicating once a cycle, which is 8 days, 8 school days. They're communicating home on their grades. You have access to the grade book, so you could look every day if you want, although we don't think that's healthy. We don't want the kids looking every day either. We do want them to give the grade book an opportunity to catch up, but this is just a sure way that you know what the kids want to work on. That way you can support them. They will copy the teacher of any course they have a C or below. So if you're seeing those averages and you want to help start the conversation with your student, you'll be copied with the teacher on that same email. So it gives you the opportunity to jump in and be a part of the goal setting and action plan.
Thanks, Erin.
Okay.
Julie, want to talk about grades?
Yeah, so going off of what Erin just mentioned about Aspen, it's our online portal and your 24/7 access to your child's grades. You have the option of getting alerts for specific grades. So for example, if you want to know when your child falls below a certain threshold, you will get an alert. That can go to your email or go to your phone. You also have an option of getting an alert for attendance. Our grades are the traditional A+ through F, and then the number percentages that associate with those letters. Again, the grades are live, so the moment we put them in, they're available to you and to the students. Report cards are in there, and then we have a boot camp that we will give both to you and to the students as we go into the fall. But we really want to emphasize independence, and we don't want you checking this all the time. The point of progress monitoring is for the kids to have that independence, have that discipline and saying, okay, I'm not doing so well here. This is what I want to do, instead of you as the parent being like, I see your grade is this. What are we going to do about it? We really want that responsibility on the kids.
Thanks, Julie. One thing on the alerts, and I learned this for myself. So the question I get a lot is, how often should I check the grade book? And that depends on your kid. So if you have one of those daughters who do everything they're supposed to do, and you know, and are, you don't have to check. They're fine. You can check it every now and then. If you have a child who maybe is a little bit less than forthcoming with what he has to do or how he's doing, you'll check it more often. The alerts. One thing I did for my son, my youngest son, is I set alert for like anything under an 80, I would get an alert for. So then the only time I was talking about his grades was when he was doing poorly, which wasn't a good conversation to have. So I just changed the alerts to everything under 100. So I got an alert for every grade he got, and then we could have conversations about grades he did well with, as well as those where maybe he was doing less well. So just when you get that opportunity, you may want to think about just setting it up for all alerts or not. That's really up to you. We'll run that boot camp ideally if we're back in school in September, which is just basically a how-to with Aspen and Schoology. So we'll take you guys through it step by step.
And then extra help options, this depends on the student and or the teacher. We kind of have options for everybody and what they need during lunch, after school, and then homework club, which I believe you'll hear about on the next slide.
I will say this, the 6th grade team, they give up their lunch all the time. I mean, I don't know, Ralph and Julie, if you guys want to speak to that, but it's like every time I go up there, like 6th grade lunch is my favorite lunch duty to have, because half the kids aren't in lunch. They're up working with their teachers, getting extra help, talking to their friends, and it's a really cool kind of setting, and take advantage of it. It's not a lot of time, and your kids may also need to come after school, but it is a time for kids to, just get caught up or get some questions answered.
All right, after school activities. We always say that there's really no reason for your child to go home before 4 o'clock. At Western, we have after late buses at 4 o'clock, 4 days a week, so every day but Wednesday. So your child can stay after on any day for a variety of reasons. We have, like Julie said, a big one is the homework club. A lot of kids go to the homework club. My child included one all the time, and it's great because they get a lot of work done there. It's structured, it's supervised, and then they come home with less work to do. So that's just something that's always available in the Narrow Media Center. We have intramurals, and those are just drop-ins. Unlike elementary school where you used to have to sign up and pay through the PTA, these are just drop-ins. So your child, depending on how they're doing with their work, or they have less homework, they can stop off after school, and they kind of rotate activities from flag football. We have a rope climbing course that they could sometimes do. They can just go into the fitness room if they want to do, or go on the machines. So intramurals is a great time for them just to hang out and socialize with their friends. We have clubs, like I said, homework club. There's the theater club, which usually starts in around December with auditions. Hand in Hand is a club where once a month on Tuesdays, a group of students go to the Bruce Museum, and they do really fun, engaging activities there. We have the debate team, arts and crafts, unified sports, which is a club for more of our comprehensive needs students to have them play together with more typical peers for socialization. And then there's a ton. What we do is at the start of the year, we have a handbook, a catalog, with all the different clubs offered, and they kind of change throughout the year. So as different teachers have different availability, there might be different clubs. That's something that all kids should be a part of. It's a really robust after school environment at Western. There's kids all over the place. I mean, they're not all over the place, but they're in classrooms, they're in the gym, they're outside. It's a great place. So your kids really should stay at school if they can, and go home later, and they can get stuff done and also have fun. And then sports. I'm doing that.
I've got that one. If your kids are into the more competitive nature of sports, rather than just the intramurals, which are just drop in and quite a bit less competitive, they're kind of like PE class after school. We have competitive sports teams. All our teams play the other two middle schools, as well as some other schools from around the area. In the past, we've played basketball teams from Fairfield. We've played teams from Stanford. It's a great program. Mr. Tarantino, our PE teacher and athletic director, has really done an amazing job bringing back some of the enthusiasm around middle school sports that there used to be back in the olden days when Mr. Beinstein and I were running around the fields before there were PCBs even, probably. But in any event, in the fall season, we have boys and girls soccer. The boys team has an A and a B. So, I would encourage anyone that is interested in soccer to try out. While for the most part, the higher level teams are predominantly 7th and 8th graders, there are certainly occasions when 6th graders have the athletic ability and the stick-to-itiveness to make a team in any of our sports. And even when they don't make it, there's a lesson to be learned. I think, everyone knows now that this Michael Jordan documentary is out there. Everybody knows about Michael Jordan being cut from his team in his freshman year of high school. And he learned something from that. And I think there's always a learning experience in any experience, whether you're cut or whether you make the team. So in the fall, we have boys A and B soccer. We have a girls soccer team. We have field hockey team. And then we have co-ed volleyball. Primarily a girls sport at Western, not so much at the other two middle schools, but my daughter played this past year and the year before in 7th and 8th grade and loved it. It was a great experience. All of our coaches are teachers in the building who give above and beyond for their kids. And they're, we have coaches that are currently doing Zoom meetings with their teams from the fall. And they're probably some of the most well-attended meetings we have going on during distance learning. In the winter, we have boys and girls A and B basketball, award-winning sports in the winter. Mr. Tarantino, as I mentioned before, has brought back some enthusiasm via the banner, the town banner. That's something that we used to have. And at the end of each season, the middle schools have a 3-team playoff, and the winner is crowned and gets to keep the banner, the middle school championship banner, in their gym for the remainder of the school year. So we are back-to-back girls basketball banner winners, and hopefully this coming year will be a back-to-back boys basketball season. And in the spring, we have baseball, softball, and the ever-popular track team for basically anybody that has you know, the ability to stand up. Right, and there are no cuts from that track team. The other teams there are cuts for, but the track team, everybody is welcome, and that's our program. It's a great program.
Thank you, Carrie. I think this is Suzanne.
That's me. All right, yep, that's me. So again, you've all already had the pleasure of getting Gordon's emails. Keep reading them. They are entertaining. They will keep you reading to the end, but they're also good information and a lot of good advice from him just on how for you guys to navigate through middle school with your ever-changing child. So those you'll get. Again, I'm not going to read through them all. We talked about Aspen Portal. Again, as we said, the start of their 6th grade year, it makes sense for you to take a look at Aspen a little bit more. But our goal is by 8th grade that you very rarely have to check Aspen because your child has come up with monitors of themselves, they set goals, they're getting their work done, they're reaching out to teachers. But at the start, 6th graders need a little bit of push sometimes from parents to reach out to those teachers. So definitely something you should look at once in a while, which will fade away. You'll get an email every 8 days from your child. So really there should be no surprise as to how your children are doing because you're gonna get notice every 8 days of how they're doing. In those progress mining, which is nice, is you have a chance to praise your child, to email them back saying how proud you are. Teachers do that as well. So that's a great way to keep track. Emails, if you have any situation with a class, a question, the main person to go to really is the classroom teacher. They're the ones who assign that work. They're the ones doing that content. Our teachers are great with getting back to parents. So they're your first line of defense. If you're seeing a pattern or something that's across classes, then it might make sense to reach out to Erin as the guidance counselor, and she can touch base with the team and kind of come up with a plan. Homework is posted on Schoology. Some of our kids, we use Google Classroom as well, so it's there as well. But we do push for the kids to use their planner because even though it's posted, we really want them using that planner so when they go home, they have that tool to check things off. You as parents can see what they're doing, so really push that in the classroom. So every night when your child comes home, it's not a bad idea to have them show you their planner so you get a sense of what they need to do that night. And then we do have parent conferences. Unlike elementary school, they're not, every parent doesn't get one automatically, but upon your request as a parent, some parents like to have them at the start of the year just to speak to the team. Usually it's the main academic team of teachers and Erin, the guidance counselors there. But as things arise during the year, we might reach out to you to see about having a parent meeting if we're seeing a trend, a pattern of whether it's behavior or struggles within classes to get you around the table. Oftentimes with your child there as well, because they're a part of the team. So we do have that upon request or if we feel like we need that.
Thanks. I think Ralph, you got the next one?
Okay. Here's some tips about to be successful at Western. One thing is to be on time to school and all the classes. We know in the beginning, there's locker issues and things like that, but after a while they get hang of it. They should be able to get to class on time. Be prepared. They'll have Chromebooks. Even though we keep saying if the kids still come to school with their Chromebooks not charged, it makes it very difficult to get work done or to show homework or anything like that. They should have their binder and an independent reading book to be respectful and to follow the norms. Take ownership is to check Schoology daily and Aspen weekly. And then self-advocate means they use provided resources and seek teacher assistance. We really try to tell the students, if there's an issue that they really should, advocate for themselves and try to, talk to us. We're not, we understand. It's a very understanding group of teachers in the 6th grade and all the grades. And I think they'll learn that when they get there.
Thanks, Ralph. Okay, this is my favorite slide now because I can tell you guys how to parent. So not really, but a couple things I've learned over the years. So first and foremost, your child needs to be in the building. You cannot be successful if your kid isn't here. So you get the calendar at the beginning of the year. It is outlined for you. And yet you still take a vacation in March. There are no vacations in March. Vacations are in February. Vacations are in April. Vacations are in December. So please make sure your child's here when they're supposed to be in the building. If they're sick, keep them home. If you think they might not be sick, send them to school. The nurse can check them out. Sometimes it's a math test they're avoiding or a friend they're avoiding. We want to be sure the kids are in the building. My least favorite topic is, two least favorite, dress code, and then drop off and pick up procedures. We have procedures that work if you follow the directions. I know that because when we have cops here, the procedures work fine. When we don't have cops here, the procedures don't work as well. They won't give me a taser. I've asked, but they won't give me one. So I need you guys to follow the directions, and I'll outline for you those at the start of the year. My recommendation is put your kid on a bus if you can. The buses that are full in the afternoon are half empty in the morning. So there is an opportunity for you guys to put your kid on the bus, and then you don't have to worry about it. The other thing you could also do is just come earlier to the building. School opens at 8 o'clock. The hours are from 8 to 2:45, but we are open from 7:15 on. And there are no cars from 7:15 to 7:45. The backup starts at 7:45. So if you need to drop your kid off, drop them off at 7:30. You can come and go, and you'll avoid any unnecessary agita. Check Aspen and Schoology. So while your kid is emailing home the progress monitoring sheet, and it's their responsibility, you should also check occasionally. Again, we talked about this, depending on your child. Homework, it's really important your child has a routine, whatever that looks like in your house. I don't think homework, again, depends on your kid, but in their room with the music on, with their cell phone open, probably not the most productive use of time. So if it's possible, by the dining room table, with you while you're cooking dinner, whatever it might be, but a set time and place for homework that is understood. And then communicate with staff. I think your kids will come home and tell stories that are based upon a 12-year-old's perspective. So before you inherit their, what's the word I'm looking for? Their angst, ask them questions. Does this really sound right? Did the teacher give you detention for no reason? Or was there possibly a reason you're not sharing? And if that's the case, reach out to the teacher and just ask for clarification. Please don't make accusations. Ask for clarification. Johnny came home and said, X, can you please, shed some light on this for me? And then most likely we'll get to a common understanding. It's also important, I think Suzanne mentioned it earlier. If you call me to find out about a homework assignment, I just have to find out about the homework assignment. Call the teacher. So your first line of defense is the teacher, or Miss Montague, depending on what the issue might be. And then after that, of course, we're here to support and help. And sometimes I need to intervene, and I'm happy to do so. But more often than not, if we start at the right place, it ends with an appropriate solution. And finally, the enable table. It kind of speaks for itself. There's a table in the front office that is filled with lunches, instruments, gym clothing, field trip permission slips that your kid should have brought in and did not. And then you thought you would be a good parent and save the day and bring it in for them. The lesson the kid learns is, I don't have to be responsible for my stuff. So my recommendation is that you don't bring anything to the enable table. If they forget their lunch one day, we'll feed them something. Don't worry. Won't be the best they've ever eaten, but we'll give them food, and they won't forget the next day. It should not surprise you that the same parents come every week to the enable table, because the kids have learned, my mom will bring it. Well, that's not the lesson we want to teach. So be sure that your child's responsible for their own stuff, and don't come save the day. Let them learn from their mistakes. This is a minor consequence and a major lesson. So that's something I would really encourage as well. And then, next slide. We have a vibrant PTA, very active, very supportive. They raise some money. They do some really cool things with it, both cultural and academic. So get involved. It tends to be, few hands doing a lot of work. So the more people we can get involved with the PTA, whether you're involved in elementary school or not, it's not a lot of commitment. It's 4 or 5 meetings a year. We meet like every other month. And then you take on a project or something that you're involved in. So I'd encourage that very much as well. And questions. So let me go to the questions we have right now. There are a couple up here. So, oh, now I'm echoing. Okay. So how many children are in a class is the first question. So we average about 20. So there's 10 sections, 200 kids, so about 20. Classes will range from 16 to 24, depending on what happens, but will most likely be around 20 kids in a class. The next question I had was, if a child had a problem in their team with other students, will they get changed? One of the things we talked about when we went to elementary schools are who should we separate your child from? So we already got that input from the elementary schools, but that being said, if you are concerned, email Miss Montague, because she's the one who's going to be kind of making the teams with us. So email Miss Montague, and she'll be sure that we can keep the kids separate as much as possible. what does A and B mean for sports team? The A and B teams are for basketball and for boys soccer, and they're just different levels. The A is a higher level of participation. The B team will have no 8th graders on it. The B team is primarily 7th with some 6th. The A team is primarily 8th with some 7th. But as Mr. Gavin says, there are cases where 6th graders make the A team as well. 6th graders see and try out their lockers before the school year starts. Typically, yes, it's actually as the school year starts. So what happens is, I'm going to assume we're going to have a normal start. So what happens is that we get the kids in, the 6th graders come a half day before everybody else, and a good hour and a half, or at least hour of that day, is playing with the lockers. Your kids will leave frustrated the first day. By the second day, they'll all get it. It's okay. It's a good lesson learned again. We help them through it. Some lockers are stickier than others. Some lockers aren't working as well. We'll trade the lockers if we need to. Again, it's a good lesson learned. They will figure it out. My favorite is the kid who has his locker combination, figures it out, shuts the locker door with the combination inside, and now has no idea how to open his locker. We have keys. We'll figure it out. There is a supply list. Actually, the PTA does a wonderful job with this. We save you from going to Staples. So you can order everything online. It's inexpensive, like $35 or $40, and you get all your supplies delivered to you in August. So we'll push that out probably next week or two from the PTA. I'll push that out to you guys. Then you just order online and don't even think about it again until August. So that's the best way to go. I highly recommend that. Unless you like Staples in August, which you shouldn't. The next question is about, do you anticipate any COVID-19 issues for the fall? Yeah, we need school. From your lips to God's ears, we need school. I need your kids back here. This is not what school should be. But I don't have any answers. And I'm not trying to avoid the question. I have no clue what they're going to do yet. We're waiting for guidance from the CDC, from the governor. These will likely be state level recommendations, even more than local. But again, I'm not sure what the plan is going to be. I'm hoping, I'm an optimist. I'm hoping we're going to have real school. Distance learning is the best we can do, but it's not what's best for your kids. So I'll keep you guys posted as I know stuff. Again, the same as the next question, modified school schedule due to COVID-19, same answer. The second question was iPads. I don't know. Aaron, do you know if they keep their iPads at the elementary school or not?
No, they should be collecting them because they don't come to middle school with an iPad.
Right.
We reissue Chromebooks. They participate in a bunch of digital literacy lessons about how to use the Chromebook, how to use their new Gmail account and their Google Drive and all those kinds of things. And then we issue them a Chromebook a couple of weeks into school. I'd anticipate that we need to get an answer though, Gordon, because if we don't go back to school,
right,
we need a device at home. And so how do we then distribute the new one? So that'll be something we have to follow up on.
Yeah, your child will, thank you, Aaron. Your child will get a new Chromebook in the fall. Let's figure out what the deal is with the iPads for now. Is there anything parents can do to help with the fields? Oh, you got a shovel? So you guys read my emails. Here's the deal with the fields. They've been closed. We're getting close to getting them opened. What I need you guys to do is just write the Board of Education and just say, listen, regardless of which surface you want, I'm a big proponent of turf, but if you're not, that's fine. We need the fields open. I like turf because I think it's more usable and it'll be open sooner because we don't need the grass to take. And we can actually build a really cool facility here if we have turf. But again, if you're pro grass, that's fine. I actually have grass in my backyard, as I said. I like grass. But I think turf for us is a better way to go. But either way, write the Board of Education. Let them know you want the fields open. 5 years is ridiculous. It's just been too long. So if you guys would do that, that'd be awesome. And the vote is tomorrow, Thursday night. So if you want to listen to the Board of Ed on Thursday night, they'll be voting as to the next steps with the field. Next question. Are the teams sorted by academic track? Actually, that's a great question. I meant to mention that earlier. They are not. It's a cross-section. So every team has every level class. Every team has a cross-section of gender, cross-section of feeder school. We try to balance them as much as possible. There's no strong team, weak team, athletic team, uncoordinated team. We don't do that. We try to balance them as much as we can. What advice do you have for a second child coming to WMS? New 6th grade older brother will be in 8th grade. My advice is not to listen to anything the older brother has to say. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say every single student's experience is different. The kids, they can definitely ask questions just to help them get acclimated to what their experience might be like. But, to take that experience with a grain of salt. The kids, 6th grade, we didn't talk about this, but the 6th grade classrooms are all in a separate part of the building. So the only time the kids will really see each other is maybe during passing time, as one class moves down to the UA classes and back, or at the end and beginning of school. So it shouldn't affect them too much.
Thank you. Will there be an opportunity for a student to change their language class before the start of school? The answer is yes, but I would do it sooner rather than later. So email Ms. Montague if you want to change. That's not a problem. Just email her, I want a French instead of Spanish or whatever it might be. But do that sooner rather than later because we're making the schedules as we speak. Is there any dress code? Mr. Gavin, you want this one?
As soon as I unmute myself, yes. The dress code is, we call it school appropriate attire. Obviously, nothing that is indicative of drugs or alcohol or anything untoward on, as labels or pictures on the shirt. But, excessive amounts of skin are not welcome, other than on the beaches, not at school. So we will kind of play that out on a case-by-case basis. But, in generally speaking, we don't want, for the boys, we don't want to see their underwear. For the girls, we don't want to see their underwear either. We don't want to see excessive amounts of skin. That's basically the bottom line. We also don't allow hoods and hats inside the building.
And we do enforce it. We do have a collection of ugly t-shirts, which we are happy to give out. Our mantra is, what's the phrase? Raise your hand, touch your toes. If anything shows, go change your clothes. That's right. It. So keep your skin at home. How many orchestra levels are there? Orchestra it's not leveled by ability. It's kind of by grade. So there'll be orchestra classes in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I hope that answers your question. This is a really good question. Will you test the 6th graders to make sure they're up to par after this protracted distance learning? We're going to have to test everybody. I just think there's going to be a major gap. I think what we typically do at the start of each year, we will be unable to do. We have to be open about our scope and sequence. We have to be open about our curriculum. So, yeah, the answer is yes. My feeling is we may have to make up probably for about a quarter's worth of work. I'm really concerned about math because of the skills that build upon each other. Concerned about world language, concerned about English. So we are going to do our best to kind of see where the kids are at the very start of the year and then adjust accordingly. That's a great question. But that'll be for all kids, not just 6th grade. How can kids access clubs and afters? Do they have to sign in a specific list? Suzanne, you want to speak to that?
Usually in the last couple of years, we've had a club fair where kids got to learn about the clubs that are offered through either advisor base, and then they got to sign up. But pretty much if a child's interested, we might have them sign up. But as I said, intramurals are just drop in. You don't have to sign up for any intramurals. If you want to do the theater club or another club, we tend to have them sign up. But if they don't sign up in time, they can just show up one day or they can email the teacher and join. It's not like we really close kids out of it.
Can I add on to that, Gordon?
Please.
Because there are no signups for afters, we also don't necessarily know where your child is if we're not supervising that club. So you need to know where your child is. If you call the main office and say they didn't come home and they're at homework club, we then have to chase the child around the building and try to track down where they are. So it's really important to make sure that before they leave in the morning, you have a conversation about where they're going when the bell rings, how they're getting home, who's picking them up, if they're staying at the after in any kind of afters activity, what time that's over and what time you're going to get them. Because there's a variety of things happening every single day after school. So it would be really difficult for us to, we will find them if you don't know where they are. But it's better for you to have an idea of where they're going before they leave your house in the morning.
Thank you, Anna. That's really important. 2 things on that. One, every year, usually in the fall, usually 6th grade parent, but he would never go there without telling me. He would never go as far, but they always do. So you need to have a clear plan with your child about where they're going to be after school each day and make that plan before you leave the house. The office is not kind of the, time to decide at the end of the day, I want to go to Joey's house because we have one phone in the main office that kids can use. Those plans need to be made in the morning. Otherwise it just gets really chaotic and kids miss their buses because they're trying to make plans. So please make those plans before you leave. Registrations was the next question. You do need to register. I may have forgotten to push something out. Let me see what I can find on that. I'll push something out this week about registration. All kids do need to register for 6th grade. It's pretty easy to do, but I'll push it out this week. So thanks for the reminder. I see here we've been told to get the iPad, so excellent. So then I'm getting the iPads in the fall. Okay, good to know. Thank you. Does Math A mean advanced? Math A means advanced. Yes. So there's 3 levels of math. It's advanced math or Math A, and then pre-algebra for 6th grade. Then the question about the curriculum. Yeah, we're gonna have to do some catch up for sure. As far as the curriculum is concerned, is there going to be catch up? There has to be. We just don't know how big the gap is yet, so we'll have to do some assessing. Ms. Bartholomew, thank you for being on the call. Just confirm that the iPads are coming to us. You may get them back, Ellie. You may not. What does the school schedule work after snow? Oh, good question. Okay. So how does the school schedule work after a snow day? Does one of the 8 days get skipped or pick up where you left off? Because the kids have a have a planner with every day in there for the rest of the year. If it snows on C day, the next day is still D day. We don't repeat C day. So the kids will always know if it's June 10th is C day, regardless of what happens, June 10th is C day. So they'll always know that. Is there a way for the kids to keep their instruments through the summer? That's a question I think you should ask your elementary school music teacher, because I think you have to make deals with them to make that happen. But I'm sure it's possible. I just don't know how that happens. Is the recording of this? You really want to see this again? There is a recording of it. God, someone want to see this again. But yeah, we'll push that out to you guys as well. And to anyone who wasn't able to make it, I'll push it out to all the 6th graders. What are we getting class placement? They actually went out a couple days ago. There were some errors. We're fixing some things. We learned that as it went from our spreadsheet to Aspen, something went awry, so we're kind of fixing some schedules. If we didn't get a schedule, just give Miss Montague a call. She can try and tell you what the deal is. But they should have gone out. If not yesterday, should get them today. And it's not every class.
Gordon, they're not getting their child's schedule.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. They're getting their placement.
Class placement.
Yeah. You're getting your placement. Schedules will go the first day of school because we're working on them all summer long. I'm sorry if I misunderstood. Mm-hmm. Cell phone policy. Mr. Gavin, you want that one too?
Cell phones should be in lockers between 7:45 and 2:45. If they are out, they will be gently asked to be put away. If it becomes problematic, they will be taken. And if it continues to be problematic, parents will have to come in and pick the cell phone up at the end of the school day.
Thank you, Carrie. Ms. Coy, do you want to take this one? What are your plans for students with IEPs that have socially regressed?
We're going to have to really kind of look at all of our kids. I think this isn't just kids with IEPs. It's going to be all of our kids in general. I think we're just going to be very conscious. If you are, as a parent of a child in special education or kind of any child who feels like they have regressed significantly, I think let us know. We have mental health support that we can provide extra towards the start of the year. We can have our eye on your child a little bit more. And we're going to have to probably, for all kids, teach them how to be students a little bit again. They've been out of the building for so long. So I think we're going to be doing that for all kids. We'll probably utilize our advisor-based time at the start of the year to really teach some of these skills again to all kids. But if you're really concerned about your child's transition, just reach out to myself, Ms. Montague. For all special ed students, we'll have met you either this month or next month through a bridging meeting. Either we're going to join your child's team at their elementary level for their annual review, and we'll discuss middle school, or we're going to have our own meeting at the start of June to plan for that. So that's also an opportunity for you to share kind of some concerns that we can have on notice and look out for.
Thanks, Suzanne. Will there be academic summer packets for students to complete before returning to school? We have created in the past math and reading packets for kids. We have to look at those again, I think, to make sure they're appropriate, considering there may be some learning loss. But yeah, we'll push something out again. It's mostly IXL for math and some IXL and some writing and reading for English. But we can definitely and it's by course level. So Math 6 kids will get a certain list of assignments. 6A will get a list of assignments. Pre-Algebra will get a list of assignments. We'll push that out as well towards the middle of June. Is there advanced language class in 6th grade? We have advanced Spanish. There's only one level of French, but we do offer advanced Spanish. And they were recommended by the elementary schools for that. Is there a dismissal manager? No. The bell rings and 640 kids run. And they leave our building and we don't know where they go. And I'm not just kidding about that. They're really not, they're 11, 12, 13, 14. That's what Ms. Montague talked about the plan. you need to know where they're going to. There is no dismissal plan like elementary schools. We don't hand them off to you. They're out of here fast. Or they're not. They're hanging out after school, which a lot of them are doing at clubs or at sports or at homework club.
Supervised, always supervised after school. Otherwise, they are asked to leave. It's, as Mr. Beinstein likes to say, it's not Starbucks Middle School, it's Western Middle School. So no hanging out, kind of unsupervised. They need to be with an adult after school.
Thank you for that clarification, Carrie.
And also, typically, if they want to go home with a friend after school and that child rides a bus, kids don't just hop on to different buses. So, usually only the kids who are on that bus ride the bus. So those plans need to be made really like before school. It's helpful.
Ms. Bartholomew, again, thank you for letting us know that instruments are to be turned into elementary schools. They're waiting to hear some more information, so we'll be in touch with you on that. Summer school. There is summer school. It'll be a virtual summer school. So information will be coming out shortly, I'm sure, from the district on that, but there will be summer school. The second part of this question is, your child was placed in pre-algebra, should they do some additional work? If they were placed in pre-algebra, the expectation is they're ready to handle that level of work. We understand that there's a gap, especially kids who weren't in ALP, or even if they were in ALP, it's a big jump. A word to the wise about pre-algebra, this is my own bias, for whatever it's worth. It is a double jump class that gets you to BC calculus your junior year in high school. So it's basically 1 year ahead track. For those kids for whom it is a struggle, my personal feeling, if your kid's a math geek, then that's the class for him. If that's what they do, that's who they are, then that's great. But if math is any bit of a struggle or they don't enjoy it, really think hard about that placement, because what happens is, and I know this, to be true, when they get to the high school, we'll get them through middle school, we kind of always do, but Algebra 2 at the high school, which will be the freshman year class for pre-algebra students, is a killer class. And if they drop out of that, they end up taking classes with kids who are juniors who were never in an advanced class. They already had geometry. The next class to go to is an on-level Algebra 2 class, which is mostly juniors who are never in an advanced class. So again, I'm not trying to scare people away. If your kid's ready for this, that's great. But every year, we got to have to talk some parents off the ledge here that this is not the right track for their kid. So just keep that in mind with the double jump class. It's a tough one. Homeroom and teacher assignments, those will come out. We really don't have homeroom, but advisor-based and teacher assignments will come out the first day of school. As we said, we're working that all summer long. We try to balance the classes. And the bus schedules are produced by the district, and they'll be pushed out also in August. The sixth graders need a new health physical. Oh, I don't know.
You need an up-to-date sports physical every year. Those sports physicals last 13 months. So in order to try out for one of our teams, you must have an updated sports physical on file. I can get you those forms if you need them. Perhaps, Gordon, we can push them out.
Yeah, they're also online.
They're on the website.
But the health physical itself, let me check on that and I'll find out. I don't know I know they need it for 7th grade. I'm not sure if they need an updated one for 6th grade or not. Let me find out. Concerned about anxiety due to being home for 6 months. Yeah, I get it. I think we're going to have a lot. We'll be very alert to kids' emotional states. This has been tough, and I don't think we always can see damage is being done for kids. Some kids are holding it together on the surface and are not underneath. We'll be very attuned to that. We have an outstanding mental health staff, and we're really well staffed. We have 6 mental health professionals for 640 kids. That's a good ratio. Erin will know your kids inside and out. Dr. Knox, Ms. Powers, Ms. Gibson, really top quality people. So we'll be on top of it. If you have specific concerns, please reach out to Erin again, because she'll be with them. How many times will we get to hear Mr. Gavin play the bagpipes? Carrie?
If they'd let me, I would do it every day, but they won't. So a couple times a year at special events, and I can be engaged on the side too. But I'd happily play for you every day if I could.
Mr. Gavin plays bagpipes every St. Patty's Day, dressed in full kilt. He doesn't have the legs for it, but he still wears the kilt. Thank God he can play the bagpipes. The date for classes next year, I don't know the exact date when school begins. I suspect that's still in flux. I mean, there is a board calendar that you can find on the district website, but I think the starting date right now is up in the air. Again, I'm praying for real school. We need real school, but I don't know that that's going to start that way or not. What happens if there's a problem on the bus? Is this WMS or something else? No, it's us. There's an issue on the bus. Contact Mr. Gavin and we will address it. if you're talking about a behavioral issue, it's us. If it's a bus route issue, there's someone downtown who manages bus routes, and they can help you with that. But if it's an issue with the other child or something like that, please let us know. We'll manage it. The bus is considered an extension of school. So when they're on their bus, they're at Western, and we will manage it.
If the bus showed up late for your stop or got back from school late, again, there's a way to go about that on the district website, but you could always, contact us and we can give you that information or help you out as much as we can.
Is there recess? How long and what do they do? Carrie, I'll let you handle this one.
So the way we work, quote unquote, recess is during lunch, they have 29 minutes for lunch. Some kids are able to scarf down food in 10 minutes and then have about 19 minutes left to get their energy out. We allow kids to leave the cafeteria into our recess area where we have some squares, some grass area to run around, basketball hoops. Students bring their own balls, leave them in their lockers, and they can bring those out to play with at lunchtime. But typically speaking, on a weather day, a good weather day, there's about 10 to 15 minutes of run around time, and it's really valuable for the kids. Their last period teachers can tell you if they don't get to run around before last period, it's a struggle to keep them contained. But yeah, so we try to get them out as much as possible, but we're not forcing anyone. Some kids just like to sit around and socialize during lunch, and that's their recess.
How does the cafeteria handle food allergies? We have allergy tables, and they are made aware of the allergies that exist. If you have specific concerns, Miss Linda Young is a school nurse, and she'll be able to kind of help you with that. But they're really good with it. I think it's kind of what schools do now. And there are a lot of kids with allergies, and they're very careful of it. But the allergy table, and then we also have food-free rooms. So if your kid has an allergy, they should not encounter it outside of the cafeteria either. When does the PTA reach out to parents? Pretty soon. They're going to push out the supply list and the order form in the next week or two, and then they'll kind of reach out as far as upcoming events, starting with the ice cream social if all goes well. You can register your child for the bus. No, but you either get assigned or not assigned, depending on where you live. So for middle school, you have to be 1.5 miles away from school to be eligible for a bus. So what'll happen is when you'll see, I think when the bus list comes out, you'll get a sense of where those stops are, if you're eligible or not, but you don't have to register per se. What time in the morning does bus pickup start? Sorry, go ahead.
Can you talk about the magnet students or kids coming to other end of town, the busing for that? I think there was a question around that.
That's this one right here, yeah. So I can tell you from my own person, I magneted my own son here. We live on the Stanford border, like right between exit 5 and 6. So his bus was at 7:05 was the pickup that morning for a school that started at 8 o'clock. That's, again, because what happens is if you're a magnet school student, you don't get a separate bus. You just get the first stop on an existing bus route. So they pick him up, and then they do the rest of the route. So it is he was on the bus sometimes 45 minutes. It's not ideal, but you get to go to Western. So, it was the trade-off we made. But it tends to be a longer ride. Most bus rides aren't that long, but because it's the first or last stop, depending if he's coming home or going to school, it tends to be a little bit longer. And are there any other questions? How do gym classes work? You mentioned bringing gym clothes. Do they take showers at school? No, they just smell. They just smell. We encourage them to bring a change of clothes. They can change in the bathroom, usually change their shirt. But we don't have a gym uniform or anything like that, and there are no showers. What used to be showers is now our fitness room, so their showers have been removed.
And most kids do not change their clothes for gym.
Right.
They're allowed to play in anything as long as you have sneakers on. If you don't have sneakers on, you cannot participate, and probably shouldn't be wearing like a dress or a skirt because then you're not going to be very athletic. But if you don't have sneakers on and you're not dressed appropriately to participate, you get a 0 for participation that day. So just sneakers are really the main thing here.
My 8th grade daughter this past year would dress quite differently when she knew she had PE, and would even leave sneakers in her locker just in case she forgot them at home when she was trying to be fashionable, quote unquote.
Do we have an after-school bus for the Boys and Girls Club? We do. It is a very popular bus. So we have both a regular bus and a late bus for Boys and Girls Club. So if your child wants to stay after school for homework club and go to the Boys and Girls Club, they can do that as well. I didn't mention late buses, but I think Miss Coyne did. Their late bus is 4 days a week. So your child can catch a bus at 2:45 or at 4 o'clock, depending on if they want to stay after school, which is great. And someone said to receive bus service, you must live 1.25 miles away. I thought it was 1.5. I'll double check on that. It may be 1.25. I'm not sure. And that was all 48 questions. I hope we did okay. This is kind of weird because I can't see your reaction, so I don't know if you're like with me or you've fallen asleep. I don't know. So thank you guys for your time. I hope you guys learned a little bit about Western. If you have any other questions we didn't answer, please reach out to anyone on this panel, and we'll see what we can do to help it. And I really mean it. We're wearing our West Side Best Side shirts. I guess every shirt's on. We love this school. It is the best place to be, and we're excited to have your kids. So thanks again. Have a great evening.
Bye, everybody. Have a good night.
Goodbye, everybody.